Hey, welcome back everyone. My name's Harry Dowling and you're listening to another episode of Harry's Half Hour on the Dude What podcast platform. I guess that's what we're calling it. In case anyone's wondering, I might be sounding a little weird because I'm still sort of ill. Like, it's been well over a week now. But yeah, this thing's hanging on. This thing is bad, but I'm a whole lot better. I just got a bit of a sort of a bunged nose, which obviously isn't great for podcasting and things. But hey, we're going to see how it goes. By the way, I hope everyone enjoyed the latest episode of Dude What. Our good friend Mr. Callum Hamby sort of stepped in because me and Tomo had a few sort of technical issues on his end that we just basically couldn't get resolved before we needed to do the podcast. And Hallam, I was going to say. And yeah, our good friend Mr. Callum Hamby stepped in, and I actually had a great time doing the pod with him. Thankfully, he's sort of said, look, if ever it goes to shit again, you can count me in, I'll help out, I'll do another episode, so it's good to know that. And also, I think, actually, he might be guesting with me again on next week's episode of Dude What? Next week's episode of Harry's Half Hour, which should be quite cool. But yeah, you should listen to that episode, because I think it came out pretty well. It was actually recorded sort of remotely. It's the first time we did it, hence the sort of issue and why Tomo wasn't there. But I think it came out pretty well. I listened back to it, and you literally can't tell, apart from a slight difference on the sound of the microphones, you literally can't tell that we are not in the same room. So that was pretty good. As always, the format of this show is I basically just ramble through a few of the sort of news stories in the world of entertainment. That's video games, music, movies. Just rattle through a few of my favourite stories, and yeah, that's basically it, everybody. The show's called Harry's Half Hour, but it can be a little shorter or a little longer. I don't really know how long it's going to be. Sometimes I've got a list of a load of things I want to get through, and I'm thinking, this is going to be like a 40-minute episode or something, and actually I blast through all of them, and it's like 10 minutes. It's just the name of the show, everyone. It doesn't necessarily have to be bang on half hour, but yeah, so we're just going to see how it goes. I'm going to jump straight into it, everyone, and I know that's sort of becoming a catchphrase of mine, because I say it literally before every time we're about to do the pod. I'm like, let's jump straight into it, but we are going to jump straight into it. And the first little news story we've got this week is a gaming story. So, I don't know if everyone's played it, but a fair few years ago, a fantastic game called Red Dead Redemption came out. It was sort of a action western game set in 19-something, like right at the end of the sort of cowboy era and the end of the Wild West. It was a fantastic game. I mean, it played pretty janky, but yeah, it's developed by Rockstar, and their games always sort of controlled a bit janky back then. But anyway, the Halloween after that game came out, they released like an add-on, an expansion that was called Undead Nightmare, and it basically was set sort of towards the end of the game's story. Not quite at the end, but it was set towards the end. And it was basically like, hey, what if the zombie apocalypse happened in the middle of this sort of Wild West world? And it was fantastic. This is back in the day when Rockstar, the game company, were making like really good story expansions onto all of their games, as opposed to their new sort of business plan, which is basically to release an online mode and then just constantly release more and more things for this online mode and completely neglect all of the players who just enjoy the story campaign stuff. I'm talking mainly about the GTA 5 and the fact that they're releasing that thing like over and over again, which is just, it's just mad. It's mad. That game's come out on like 3 different consoles at this point. It's crazy. But apparently, a group of modders, apparently a group of modders are hard at work sort of recreating an expansion, like an unofficial expansion for Red Dead 2, bringing back the sort of the Undead Nightmare thing. This sort of leads me into what I wanted to ask. I mean, that's basically the news story, but this brings me into what I wanted to ask. As I said before, Rockstar have released a lot of really good story expansions. Send an email to Dude What Podcast if you're a gamer or you know someone that games and you've played some or whatever. Send an email to Dude What Podcast and let me know what you think is your favourite Rockstar story expansion, because there's been some pretty good ones. If you ever played Grand Theft Auto 4, there was like 3 really good expansions for that. At least I think it was 3. It might have been 2, but you had the Ballad of Gay Tony, which was fantastic. The Lost and Damned, which was like a biker thing. Of course, you had Undead Nightmare for Red Dead Redemption. Just really cool. I wish they did that a bit more. I mean, GTA 5 hasn't had a story update, story expansion, and it's just sort of a little weird. Why not? Anyway, I feel like I'm starting to ramble on this, so we're going to move on to the next thing. And the next little bit of story is that big sort of Marvel news now. As you might know, as I may have said on this podcast, or on the podcast with Tomo, I'm a big Marvel fan. I actually did my dissertation on the MCU and the creation of cinematic universes, because obviously it's been done before. I don't know who did it first. There's been a fair few before Marvel, but cinematic universes are like the big thing. We're starting to see a little bit less of it now, actually, as maybe some people are getting tired of the sort of shared universe formula, and they'd rather go back to having just sort of single stories. A great example of this is that film Joker 2019. Fantastic movie. Didn't need to be part of any sort of universe or anything. Just sort of stood completely on its own. Really, really good. Anyway, Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Volume 3 news. And that is that they have cast an actor in the role of Adam Warlock. For anyone who doesn't know, Adam Warlock is basically just a big cosmic superhero, big golden man, basically. He's done some pretty cool stuff in the comics. I think at one point he had the Infinity Gauntlet. I love the Marvel comics in that, but actually I sort of stopped reading the Marvel comics back in the early 2000s, because that's when I was a little kid and I used to read them. I never really read them as an adult. But anyway, they've cast actor Will Poulter. Some may know him from that Midsummer movie that came out, I don't know, a couple of years back. Don't know about you, that's not my sort of thing. I'm not really into that sort of horror, so I never saw that. He was also in Bandersnatch. That was pretty good. He's been in a few things. I don't mean to sort of... This isn't a dig or anything, but he's the guy with the eyebrows. And if you know Will Poulter, and you're picturing him right now, you'll know what I mean. He's got those eyebrows. They go up and then right back down. Like he's constantly sort of... I don't know, like he's almost doing like Wahlberg does it a whole lot. Like The Rock does it with his one eyebrow, but imagine him doing it with both eyebrows. Yeah, that's him. It's Will Poulter. Kind of cool. A lot of people really wanted it to be Nathan Fillion, who obviously has worked with director James Gunn, who's directing it. Actually, that might not be correct. I don't know if James Gunn is directing it, but a lot of people thought that he was going to be Adam Warlock. Of course, the character of Adam Warlock was actually teased in the end credit sequence from Guardians 2, when it's sort of that big golden coffin thing, and that race of golden people are like, bring Adam or something. So they've cast young, which is kind of surprising, but pretty cool. Anyway, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is set to start shooting later this year, which is kind of strange because they don't usually shoot like around Christmas time. I say Christmas time because it's mad to think that we are almost in... We're like halfway through October. Well, coming up on halfway through October. Then it's November, and then of course December, and then it's Christmas. So it's mad how the time's flying. But yeah, Will Poulter cast Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Our next little bit of news, actually, I reckon people probably haven't heard about at all. But if you are familiar with... Well, let me rephrase that. The guy is called Jamie Costa, right? And if you're familiar with that name, you'll know that this guy started out doing a lot of videos on Vine, back when Vine was a thing. Do you remember Vine? Like 6-second little clips? I actually much prefer that to all this new TikTok stuff. I am not a talk boy, if that's even a saying. I feel like it should be. A talker. I'm not a talker, everybody. I know it's massive, and I know that people have been saying we should promote the podcast on TikTok, but hey, nah, I'm not going to use it. I'm old school. But anyway, this guy started off on Vine basically doing impressions, like absolutely spot-on impressions of Robin Williams. It helps that he really looks like Robin Williams again, also, but yeah, he just absolutely spot on, and he's doing the "Good Morning Vietnam" and all that stuff, and little Jumanji bits, and really, really good. Anyway, he then moved on to YouTube, and he's been doing clips on YouTube for a long time, and basically there was a new story that came out yesterday, and that is that he's basically done a video on YouTube where it's like it's test footage for a film that he's trying to get greenlit, just called Robin. And this is the idea of this is that it's a biopic of the life of Robin Williams, who in my opinion, one of the greatest stand-up comics, actors. Mrs. Doubtfire will always be one of my favourite films, and in my opinion, nobody can touch Robin Williams when it comes to stand-up. It just doesn't get any better than that for me. But anyway, this is different because in this little scene, it's set sort of around the time of Mork and Mindy. I don't know if anyone's old enough to remember that. It was like a 70s sort of sitcom show. But it's set throughout the time of Mork and Mindy, and it basically is a scene where Robin Williams learns of his good friend John Belushi's death. And I think he's chosen this scene because he shows that not only can he do the ho hey hey ho ho, like happy, funny Robin Williams, but he can also do very serious and quite dark Robin Williams. For anyone who hasn't seen this, I'll probably try and put the link for this little clip in the description or whatever below. You got to check this out. It's really good, and I really do hope that some big Hollywood execs see this and contact him to get it greenlit, because it's uncanny. It's uncanny how good and how much this guy looks like Robin Williams, and he's just got it down. No, give it to this guy Jamie Costa. He's got it. It's so good. You're gonna have to check it out. I think he might be getting quite big actually now, and to be honest, I do shit on TikTok a lot, but I bet you any money that this guy is also on TikTok. So maybe go on your TikTok and search Jamie Costa, see what comes up. Next little bit of news is that, guys, I've done it again. It's more Chili Pepper news. I bet you're saying, oh, shut the fuck up about the Red Hot Chili Peppers, man. We don't like them. Well, I do, ladies and gentlemen. I really do like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I've loved them for a very long time. And to be honest, I'm sort of in this Chili Pepper renaissance because I haven't listened to them for a really long time. We haven't had new music since 2016, I want to say. That's when I saw them last. Back in 2019, they announced that John Frusciante was returning, and then it just went absolutely dead silent since then. And that's a while back. But anyway, they announced a tour, and I actually managed to get tickets. Incredibly expensive. I got tickets with our good friend Mr. Callum Hamby. I'm going to not talk about that too much, though, because I think we're going to talk about that on the next sort of podcast that he guests on. We're going to go into that because we've both got a little bit of a rant that we want to go on about that sort of touring ticket situation. But anyway, the bit of news is that Chad Smith, I believe, who is the drummer, I believe he was interviewed by someone at Rolling Stone. The article is by a guy called Brian Hyatt. And he basically has had this interview, and he's saying that they are almost done with the new album. Now, this is an absolutely great read. It's not a sort of an audio interview. It's a written one, and it's really interesting. He's talking about how they've got older because these guys are fairly old now. John Frusciante is a different, but he's the same, and the sound is different, but it's the same, and they're just all really excited, basically, to do it. And it's a fantastic read if you like the Chili Peppers. However, my only sort of little bit of my opinion on this is that I thought the album would have been finished ages ago. It sort of seems odd to me that they are almost done. I mean, how many songs are they writing? This does give me hope that maybe we're going to get a double album, which would be fantastic. We haven't had a double album since like 2006 or something. Stadium Arcadium, amazing album. Not a bad track on that album. Great variety. But yeah, I did speak to my good friend Adam Homer, who actually was on the podcast with me and Tomo. I think it was the first ever YouTube short films episode, actually, I believe. And he is sort of my Chili Pepper go-to man. I've been to see them with him on 2 occasions, I believe. I think he was there the second time. Yeah, I can't actually remember now at all. But he's the man in the know. He sends me like random messages in the middle of the night, basically, of Chili Pepper articles and all sorts of stuff. And he said that he thinks that it's probably just because of it probably was finished a while back, but they've had so much time doing nothing that they've probably just been like tweaking it and making it as good as it can be. The album's being produced by Rick Rubin, who has produced like their best albums, basically, so they're probably just making it as good as it can be. Hopefully we get it fairly soon, although it won't be. They've said it's going to be like spring 2022, which is still way off, so we're just sitting around waiting for that new Chili Pepper album, everybody. Next little bit of news isn't really news. You've probably seen it absolutely everywhere, but that new Korean show, Squid Game, is dominating. It's on its way to become like the most viewed show ever on Netflix. If it already isn't by the time that this episode comes out. I have watched a little bit of it. Not really my sort of thing. Not the fact that it's Korean or anything. I absolutely love those really dark Korean crime dramas. Really, really into them. I don't know why I'm just not that into this. I think maybe it's because it's so hyped up and the sort of natural rebel in me is like, nah, it's too big. Like, nah, I don't want to watch that. But I've seen a little bit of it because Fiona's watching it. And actually, the whole thing has been spoiled for me, so I know everything about it. I've had a lot of friends say, look, man, some of the games and things in it are good, but yeah, the way it sort of all resolves isn't fantastic, so give it a miss. Which is what I've done, but again, everyone else is saying that it's fantastic, so yeah, Squid Game, it's everywhere. It's like impossible to miss. I think there was a news story in the UK that someone's put a Squid Game road sign on the motorway or something, and people are genuinely turning off the motorway and heading there to expecting the real thing or something, and the police are having to put statements out saying, ladies and gentlemen, like, you know, members of the public, there is no Squid Game. It's not real. Don't turn off the motorway here. Mad. Absolutely mad. For people who like actor Penn Badgley, he was in Gossip Girl, obviously, and more famously, he's in that series You. There's 2 seasons of it on Netflix at the minute. Season 3 comes out tomorrow. Again, I'm not into it at all. I know I said, like, this is a load of my favourite news stories of the week. It doesn't have to be something I'm into. A lot of the time I will just go on to various websites that I like, and I'll look at the news. You know, I'll look at some of the top stories of the week, and I don't think anyone's listening to this to get to get the news, but, you know, I like to sort of put across some of the big stories as well. And this is it. Basically, before it's even aired, Season 3, it's been renewed for Season 4. And I'm sure a lot of people are really happy about that because, yeah, it's done pretty good. And I like that guy. He does a good job of looking very unsettling, sort of without saying anything. And I'll be honest, I kind of liked him in Gossip Girl. Yes, that's right, I watched Gossip Girl. Don't judge me. Talking of shows that have been renewed, Amazon's Jack Ryan has been renewed. Now, this is that sort of, you know, continuation of the Jack Ryan story, starring John Krasinski, a really good actor and director. Obviously, he was in The Office and all that stuff, but he also directed A Quiet Place. And fingers crossed, he's going to be Mr. Fantastic in the MCU. Because he actually did audition for Captain America, you know. I don't know if you know that, but yeah, he auditioned for Captain America and didn't get it, thankfully. But he's a good actor, and he'd make a great Mr. Fantastic. You know, the stretchy guy from Fantastic Four. But yeah, that's been renewed. Again, not a fan. I haven't watched any of it. If you're talking Jack Ryan, for me, it's got to be Harrison Ford, Clear and Present Danger, that sort of thing. I like those films. But yeah, Jack Ryan. Halle Berry's new film comes out fairly soon. It's called Bruised. It's like a boxing sort of movie. It's actually the first time that she's directed. It's her directorial debut, as they say. The first trailer has just come out. Yesterday. No, today. Today, the first trailer came out. I haven't seen it, but I will definitely watch it as soon as I finish doing this podcast, actually, because I got much love for Halle Berry. She was absolutely fantastic in the third John Wick film. She wasn't in it very long, unfortunately, but she had an absolutely badass fight scene when, she had those two dogs and they were like jumping over tables and biting guys in the nuts and stuff. Really, really good. Also, I don't know if you've seen it, but I don't know if you've heard of the Razzies, which is like a Nickelodeon award ceremony for notoriously bad films. But the year that Catwoman won the Razzie, she actually turned up, which is something that not a lot of people do. But she turned up and accepted the award and was just a legend about it, basically. And then got slimed and, just sort of took it. Yeah, much love for Halle Berry. Looking forward to watching that directorial debut. Alright, we're coming to the end of it now. I'm sorry if I've sort of rattled through it fairly quickly. Couple of last bits of news. Film I've been looking forward to for a really long time now, and I believe I may have mentioned it on the podcast. Halloween Kills is released tomorrow in cinemas. I probably won't be going to watch it tomorrow because anyone who knows me, and I actually was explaining this today to a new work colleague, but I don't have ADHD or ADD or anything like that, but I feel like I sort of do when it comes to movies. If a new film comes out in a series, I gotta watch all of them again so I can watch the new one. I don't know why, I just gotta do it. So I won't be watching it tomorrow because I'll be watching through the Halloween films again. Now, luckily, if you haven't seen Halloween 2018, which is the one before this one, it basically rewrites the Halloween history and scraps all of the movies except for the first one, which is really good because they're quite crap. And, except for the first one, all the rest of them are quite crap. So now you just need to watch Halloween 2018, and then Halloween Kills. And I believe there's going to be another one called Halloween Ends, which will finish the whole thing. Much love for Jamie Lee Curtis, fantastic actress. Probably the main reason I'm going to watch it, because I'm not actually that into slasher films or anything. But yeah. Also, it's written by Danny McBride, which is kind of weird, because Danny McBride is like big comedy man. But yeah, written by Danny McBride. Gotta watch it. Last little bit of news, everybody, and it's back to gaming news. It's back where we started. This actually, I read on someone shared this on Facebook, and I read it about a minute before I was actually about to start this podcast, and I sort of delayed starting it so I could read this article. But I don't know if you played it when it came out, but do you remember the game Dead Space, or hearing of the game Dead Space? Well, that game came out 13 years ago today. That's absolutely mad. That really stresses, how fast time goes for me, because I played that game, and it felt like a long time ago, but also not that long ago. And yeah, 13 years, absolutely mad. It would be pretty cool if they remade that, actually, but they won't be doing it because I'm fairly certain they're sort of when I say remade, I mean like remastered it, sorry. I'm pretty sure they are actually remaking Dead Space at the minute, so we're going to get like a new Dead Space for today, But that old game Dead Space was great because it had that thing where the enemies would be dead, and as you walked past them, they would get up, and it would scare the life out of you. And it was one of those games where every time you turned around, there would be something behind you to scare you. And not like a scripted, like, jump scare. Just genuinely, like, every time you turned around, there would be something that was running down a corridor that was, like, seconds away from actually getting you. And, yeah, scared the hell out of me. The sequels, not so much, but Dead Space 1 had me stomping every single dead body I came across just to make sure that it wasn't going to jump up at me. Really cool weapons in that as well. It had that gun that could, like, turn from vertical to horizontal, and you could, like, shoot monsters' limbs off and stuff. Really, really cool. Well, everybody, we've come to the end of another very quick episode of Harry's Half Hour. I hope you enjoyed it. I mean, I ultimately make this for myself. It's a hobby for me. The whole podcast in general is like a big hobby for me. If it gets no listens, if it gets one listen, I'm a happy man. So, however, if you are listening to this, as I said in the episode that I just did with Hamby, please leave a review, like a written review, or even if you don't write, just click on the stars. Rate it whatever you want to rate it, but the more ratings it gets, the more, like, sort of popular and the more it will be pushed to people's attention through the sort of algorithms of various websites or whatever. So yeah, please rate, please review, like us on whatever. As I said, I'm sorry there haven't been any YouTube videos recently. I just don't have time to be editing those. I just started a new job, and yeah, I do apologise for that. You can send us an email, dudewhatpodcast@gmail.com. We're on Instagram @dudewhatpodcast. That's probably where we're most active, other than, like, straight up our email address. www.spreaker.com/dudewhatpodcast. Send us a voice message. I know every time we're like, we'll play it on the podcast. And, you know, anyone out there who is listening to every single episode is like, come on, guys, it's like episode 21 and you're yet to play any voice, any voice things on the podcast. Well, that's literally just because we haven't had any that sort of are suitable to be played on the podcast at this point. But please do send us some. As I said, there is an ongoing challenge, which is for someone to call Tomo a bellend and say the word bellend and make it last for a very long time, because we thought that would be hilarious. So yeah, do that. Now, before I end, I always try and end on, like, a bit of sort of positivity at the moment. Like, just take it easy, guys. Don't work too hard. Don't stress. Take some time out in the week to do something that you really want to do, that relaxes you or stimulates you in a really good way. Don't spend your life just working, waking up, working, going to sleep. Spend some time on you. Just go out for a walk, get some fresh air. And that's the end of my motivational stuff. I've got to go to bed to go to work tomorrow now. So, everybody, I've been Harry Dowling. I really hope you've enjoyed this podcast. We've got a new episode of Dude What coming out next Tuesday. I forgot when it comes out then. Next Tuesday. Don't forget to check it out. Peace, one love. I'm out, everybody.